This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Matt Allen is off today, so today I am your KTAR car guy. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we're heard every Saturday from 11 to noon, and it's our job to help you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. If you got car questions, we've got car answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text your questions to 411-923. And today I'm not all by myself. I brought in John Riggle, our lead diagnostician at Tri-City Transmission and Auto Repair. John, good to have you with us.
Morning, Dave.
And he is going to help me help you with your car. And today, this is just based off situations that we have in the week. And the one misunderstanding that I see come up over and over and over again is, man, how do we diagnose cars? And I think this expectation maybe comes a little bit out of bad information. So everyone's heard the ad for Acme Auto Parts, which is down on the corner of the main street there. And you can take your car there, and as a courtesy, they'll come out and they'll plug into your car, and they'll give you a printout, a piece of paper, and they'll tell you what's wrong with your car. John, is that what's wrong with your car? What's going on there? What are they doing for you?
That's a list of possibilities, unfortunately. Every time they do that, there's kind of a misconception. There's this misconception, all you do is plug the machine in and it tells you what's wrong with the car. Well, what they're giving you with that list is a possibility of things, and it's usually a list of parts that you might want to buy and try. So, it's kind of counterproductive in some ways.
So it can be kind of counterproductive. Now, what they're looking for when they plug into this car, see, when the modern vehicle has some sort of issue, it's run by a computer and monitored by a computer. And there's actually several computers within the car that monitor the car. And when it recognizes an error, it sets a message in the computer. We refer to it as a diagnostic trouble code, or you've heard, go scan it for codes.
Yep.
That's what everybody's referring to. And so there's going to be codes stored in the computer. And anytime you see that check engine light come on in your car, that's evidence that the computer has recognized an issue and that there is a code stored in the system. Now, every time a car has a problem, John, is there a code stored?
No, and not every time the check engine light comes on do you see a code stored afterwards. If you've got a bad computer, quite often you'll get the check engine light come on while the fault is present, but if the computer itself is bad, when we go to scan it, there won't be any codes there.
There won't be any codes in the system. So I go to Acme Auto Parts, they plug into it, and they say, hey, here's the codes that you have, and then it could be, it always says something like this, and I'll give you the most common one, an O2 sensor code, oxygen sensor. And most of the modern cars have 4 oxygen sensors. So they say, well, it could be the oxygen sensor, it could be the wiring, that's the way they all read, or it could be the computer. But more than likely it's probably the oxygen sensor. But what I've seen is 8 times out of 10 an O2 sensor or oxygen sensor code does not end up being an oxygen sensor replacement. So it's pretty low likelihood, just based off a code, what would I call a code diagnosis. The reason I thought of this, John, is we got a Nissan Murano in our shop, and it actually showed up last Friday, and I was out of town, and so the guy was complaining about vibration in the car. He was complaining about lack of power, and he thought that he had a transmission problem. And this was not his first trip to the auto shop for these issues. I believe it was his 3rd trip to the auto shop. He had tried a couple other things like spark plugs and that type of thing. And so I wasn't there on Friday, but I was back on Monday, and John said, hey, go drive this Murano with me. Tell me what you think. And so we took it for a spin and drove it, and it just wasn't very crisp. It was like drinking a can of soda that had been sitting out on the counter for 2 weeks, open. It was missing something, but it still sort of tasted like Coca-Cola. It was just flat.
Yeah.
And so there was absolutely no codes stored. These codes that we're talking about, there was no code stored for the transmission, no code stored for the engine. So I called the guy up and I said, hey, I need a whole lot more information. And so I interviewed him literally for probably 15 minutes. And that's after John had interviewed him on Friday for some sort of time to get more information from him about his car. And I said, all right, I'm going to figure this out for you, but we're going to take a lot of time and energy to figure it out. So I'm going to need some diagnostic money beyond the $78 that we originally quoted him. It was going to be $300. Or up to $300 to figure this thing out. And he said, sure, no problem. He goes, I would love to get this car fixed.
Yeah.
He's already made attempts and tries and had all kinds of conversations. So what are some of the steps that we took, John, to figure out what was going on with that car?
We drove it a lot.
I think 4 of us drove it at different times and sometimes together.
Yeah, and that's kind of a trick is getting a sense of what's really going on when you've got a complaint that's kind of subjective like that. What is a lack of power? Okay, it just doesn't have enough power. So that's pretty subjective. So drove it quite a bit, and then I did some inspections with a scan tool. I watched the airflow through the motor. I watched the maximum amount of airflow. Airflow is directly proportional to horsepower. So I've got some guidelines I can use there. And when I saw that it was down on airflow, I knew that there was probably an engine performance problem more so than a transmission problem. So that gave me a direction to go. I kind of started to rule out transmission problem when I saw that.
So we literally went and borrowed a Nissan Murano from the neighboring shop.
Yeah.
Some of you have been listening a long time. I remember Joel from Arizona Imports. He calls me up because I got a Murano just like the one you're looking at. I said, great, can I come borrow it? So we went and borrowed it just to drive it, just to feel different.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at airflow, so you were thinking maybe we got some restricted exhaust here.
That was my gut instinct, was a restricted exhaust. It's a fairly common failure on those.
So
he
ended up putting pressure gauges in the O2 sensor ports in order to test, the back pressure or pressure building up in the exhaust, and everything there looked okay. And I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, what it ended up being was a bad actuator, which was on the intake runner control, which is basically a butterfly that opens up and changes the flow of air inside the engine intake. And the reason I thought this was a great topic is at the end of the day, the guys at the counter, and there was a whole lot of other conversations we had because we addressed some motor mounts for him and some other things. And he said, why was there no codes for that?
Yeah. That system simply isn't monitored on that car. It's computer controlled, but there's no monitoring for that system.
So you could have plugged in that thing all day long, and it was just based off of just inspection and driving and saying what else could it possibly be in order to arrive at that answer. And he was concerned about the vibration in the car. Well, when I first got in the car, the first time I started it up, I said, this car's got bad mounts.
Yeah.
So we knew it had a mount problem. That was the problem for his vibration. We knew it didn't have a transmission problem. We felt pretty strongly about that just based off the condition of the oil. That transmission, the CVT, they're pretty sensitive to set those codes when there is a slipping issue, and we didn't see any codes.
Yeah.
So in a lot of times when it comes to that, the computer is more sensitive than we are sometimes at finding slips in a transmission. So we didn't see that, so we were pretty confident the transmission was okay. But we had just kind of a little nest of little problems that was going on. And the point I wanted to make here is that I've seen it. I go to other auto shops where no one knows I'm in the auto business, and I sit there and I watch the guy at the service counter trying to explain to the customer that there's diagnostic charges. And they go, well, don't you just plug into it and it tells you what's wrong?
Yeah.
That's not the way it works. I mean, you do plug into it, and it's a piece of information, but it's sometimes a long ways away from what – and we literally probably had 5 hours in that car, John, figuring that thing out.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Between all the steps we took, between all the other mechanics that we got involved in it, and it was just an oddball, type of situation. And one of the other things that came up this week is we did do a transmission for a guy on a Chevy truck. And we would drive it, and it would drive great. The next technician, we go through 3 technicians before we deliver a car. The next technician would jump into that car, and he would drive it, and he would say, the transmission works crappy, but the longer I drove it, it starts working good again. And the next technician would be the same thing. And this all came down to the fact that the guy had a weak battery in his car. This battery was 6 years old. It still started the car.
Unbelievable, yeah.
But every time the voltage would drop down, we're talking about having code stored in the computer. If you got a weak battery, what happens? That voltage drops down, enough to where that memory disappears. So that brings me to, and I called the guy up. I said, hey, you need a new battery. He said, yeah, I'll buy one on the way home. I said, no, you're buying one here before you get your car back because I can't confirm I fixed it until you got a good battery in the car. So we got a nice rack, freshly stocked with interstate batteries, and I said, hey, look, you may save $5 down the street, $10 down the street, getting a battery and doing it yourself and all that stuff. It's just better to get an interstate battery from me. It's got a good, 2-year free replacement warranty, and as long as you keep coming back to us, we'll always make sure it's good for you. So anyhow, interstate batteries, you talk about batteries and weird diagnostic, you don't want to skip out on having a good battery. So anyhow, when we come back, we're taking phone calls at 602-277-5827. 602-277 KTAR. You listen to Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Calling all golfers, scratch, duffers, sandbaggers, and every skill level in between. This is your chance to win $1 million. Come out to the Wells Fargo Fiesta Bowl $1 Million Hole-in-One at the Arizona Biltmore Golf Club, November 3rd through the 13th. Here's how it works. Purchase a bag of 11 balls for $10 and hit as many balls as you want. 20 prizes will be awarded daily with the finals on Sunday, November 13th. Fiesta Bowl, creating champions on and off the field. For more information, please visit fiestabowl.org.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A-plus rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20-plus years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
What they don't understand is ultimately that whole thing with checking for codes for free is designed to sell auto parts.
Welcome back to Bumper Radio. The one thing, John, that I didn't mention was that we do have a, priest on call for some of these cars that really seem ghostly, like there's something possessing this car.
Oh, no.
So we perform exorcists on some of these cars. Sometimes you wonder about that. We're talking to Mike Russell out in the parking lot, and I had John come down with his scanner, so we could take a look at his car. And Mike Russell bought this car that literally needs an exorcism.
Yes, it does, yeah.
It is, it looks good. The interior's clean. It was probably a couple $1,000 less than he should have spent on a car. And at first I was like, from the curb or from a block or more away, I go, that's a great truck. But once we get closer to this truck, and we're like, the idle's a little rough, and it's got this and that. I tell you what, that truck has spent more time at our shop versus him driving that truck. Yeah. And what it is the guy who originally, this truck at some point has gone to his shop. And they said, hey, this thing idles rough. Can you figure this thing out? And so that shop, not only in trying to fix the problem, created more problems. So we found, we keep finding more and more problems with people that have already tried to fix this car.
We keep having to undo problems that were made, and I still don't know what the original problem was.
No, we don't, but we don't have any history on this truck.
Yeah.
But everything from it has 8 fuel injectors to 5 of them were for the wrong size engine and causing half the engine to run one way and the other half to run the other way. And we thought, this has got to be it. This has got to be our problem. We got fuel injectors in it. We got them all balanced out, and then we find out, what, the VIN number in the computer doesn't match the VIN number on the car. So somebody's tried to change the computer to fix this car. So we got to wipe that computer clean. We got to reprogram it. And this car came in with not a single code that runs like complete dog crap, when it idles, and 0 codes. And so this thing has been a monster, and exorcism is pretty much what that car needs. So anyhow, we got to get to the phones. We're going to go with Jerry in Tonopah. He's got a 2000 Ford Ranger. How can we help you, Jerry? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey there, yes. So what my vehicle is doing is intermittently it will flash overdrive off while I'm driving at any random speed.
Does it, you say at any random speed, does it tend to happen more on the longer drives?
Yes, when I'm on the freeway, that's when it happens.
Okay. Well, I'd be pretty sure what's going on with your car. Whenever you see, Ford uses the overdrive light flashing to tell you there's a transmission problem. So vehicles have a check engine light that tells you there's something going on maybe with the engine. Well, when the overdrive light flashes, it's telling you maybe something is going on with the transmission. So the reason I asked it was happening on the freeway, a lot of transmissions start failing or start having an issue with the torque converter.
Mm-hmm.
And the torque converter clutch is most active on the highway. That's when it really needs to happen. And on the highway, it's a longer time where the computer's given just a whole lot more clean data to say, hey, there's a problem with the torque converter.
Sure.
So you'll experience an overdrive light flashing. Maybe when you get off the freeway, the transmission doesn't seem to want to work right because a lot of times they'll change the line pressure. John, how many times have you seen that happen?
A million. It's all the time.
And that's a question that we ask all the time. And how long are you driving when it actually comes up? So, Jerry, you're starting to experience something with your transmission. Now, John, does that just mean it's torque? I'm just throwing out torque converter as a suggestion, but there's a whole lot that goes with it.
Yeah. Any slip could do that. There's all kinds of things that could do that. It's down. You got to start at the beginning. As much as I hate to say it, you got to check for codes first. We're probably going to be a code stored there.
And with intermittent issues, you hope there's a code, because if it's intermittent, you take it to the mechanic, he goes and drives, he goes, it works great, we know it works great. It works great every other day, and it's working great for you today. So the nice thing about codes when they do set, it's a little thumbprint or a fingerprint of an area we should be looking in. So thanks for the call, Jerry. It's going to need some diagnostic work to figure out what's going on with it. Someone who's got a good scanner, and I'm not talking about the thing that they plug into the shop. Someone needs to drive it and read the actual RPM issue with the transmission if there is one. So you're going to need to get that into a shop. You can find one at bumpertobumperradio.com, 602-277-5827. We're going to go with Ernie in Glendale. He's got a 2007 Jeep Wrangler Sport. How can we help you, Ernie? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, actually, it's a 2003.
Okay.
But I have a problem with the lights when I'm driving, going to work in the morning. I put the lights on, everything is fine. About 2 blocks into it, the dash lights go out and my running lights go out. Headlights are still on. I'll drive a little further and it'll come back on. And it's intermittent, and it doesn't happen all the time. It's not like I hit a bump and it goes out. I replaced the multi-switch for the headlights and turn signals and so forth, and I looked everywhere I could for any kind of loose ground wires, and I couldn't find anything. And it's been doing it now for about a week or so, maybe longer. Is there some place I can look or some place I can take it and have it looked at that I can trust?
Well, I think, John, any ideas? I think it's kind of spooky and kind of, again, we're talking about.
Don't go there. No, this isn't magic. The car's broken. There's a connection, or there's an excessive current draw somewhere. Something's causing it to happen. So what we need to do is typically what I would do in a situation like this is try to duplicate it. I'd do a real good visual inspection on it. Fuse panels, switches up under the dash are places I want to look. I want to look for accessories that have been added in the car. And ultimately what I do with a situation like that is I put a current probe on them and I watch the current flow through the circuit while I drive it and see if it varies. It should be relatively stable. Mm-hmm. And if it varies up or down, that gives me a clue. If the current goes up, I know I've got too much current flow. If it goes down, now I know that I'm looking at bad connections and things like that. If the current goes up, I can rule out bad connections. I've got a bad component somewhere or a short to ground. So I've got some directions to go, but it's not necessarily easy. And with an intermittent, you don't want to be touching things.
Yeah, no, that's one of the areas, John, where I really see that you excel. And yeah, can you get it to a shop to get that checked out? There should be no problem. If you're, it looks like you're in Glendale. You've got Dave Car Care over in Glendale. They certainly would be capable of handling an issue like that. But John, you're really good at, you say you don't want to get in there and start just moving things around, right?
Not with intermittents, because you can make a good connection where there was a bad connection before just by unplugging and plugging something back in. And it'll still be a bad connection, but now you've got to wait 2 weeks for it to act up again. So you want to be very, very careful when you're dealing with intermittence.
So, yeah, these are some of the steps that John takes to find these problems. And there's something called a pin drag test. Just to talk about a pin drag test. I mean,
there's lots of bad connections. There's lots of connectors in cars, electrical connectors, male and female plug. A lot of times they'll collapse on the inside. You can't see the failure, but the pins don't fit tight enough. So we do what we call a pin drag test. You take a male terminal and slip it into the female terminal and feel the resistance in that connection. Do a physical pin drag test to make sure that terminal's good, because you can't see inside of them.
And people sometimes wonder, well, what the heck is this diagnostic test that you guys are doing all about, and why do I have to pay for it? And so what we like to do on this show is really eliminate your anxiety about this stuff. And so we know that the auto industry doesn't have this wonderful, warm feeling that everybody thinks about. Oh, can't wait to go to the auto shop. I love those guys, because you always know it's probably going to cost you some money. You'd probably rather spend money on something else, like just paying bills and putting food on the table versus going down to the auto shop. So
or a root canal.
Or a root canal, right? That's always fun too. So there's so many other things you'd rather be doing than go to the auto shop. And when you get there, the guy wants to charge you $100 right off the bat, and he hasn't even done anything yet. And you're thinking, well, shoot, the guys at Acme Auto Parts will plug into it and figure it out for me for free. But they're not even doing, the pin drag test and all those things that go on, and just kind of the experience of, when you're looking under hood, what to touch, what not to touch, and figuring out the issues. And folks, if you've ever seen a computer connection in a car, and we'll just take the engine control module, there's 25, 30 wires in that thing, and they all snap into place.
Oh, yeah.
And so you've got a problem, and you've literally probably got 100 miles worth of wiring in there. It only takes one wire to cause an issue. So that's what's happening when you take your car and you're getting it diagnosed. And sure, there's easy problems that people can figure out quickly. Anyhow, when we come back, we're taking your phone calls at 602-277-5827, 602-277 KTAR. Listen to Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Here's what Carrie from Tempe had to say about her experience with Good Works Auto Repair.
As soon as you realize, I need to get some work done on my car, I'm sure the thought occurs to you that you're about to get taken for a ride. I used to share the same sentiment and wondered if the shop was going to make something up and have me spending hundreds of dollars instead of $30 I was planning on for a simple oil change. This is one of the reasons I will only go to Good Works Auto Repair. Because I trust them. Putting trust in an auto shop didn't come easily. It's been built over several visits with them doing exactly what was needed, not coercing me into unnecessary work. Ask them for an oil change and a safety inspection, they do just that. No baloney, list of filters, belts, and whatchamacallits that need replacing on my new car. Thank you, Good Works Auto Repair, for being there for me when I need you.
Appreciate the kind words. It's always a pleasure. Glenn Hayward here. Come experience what award-winning auto service should be. Good Works Auto Repair in Tempe, or visit us at goodworksautorepair.com.
Are you looking for a refreshing change in customer service? I'm Lee Weatherby from Accurate Automotive. How about a refreshing change in your car repair relationship with honest, clear, and responsive service that looks out for your needs and not ours? For over 20 years, we've been delivering award-winning service provided by ASE-certified technicians with one goal, looking out for your best interest. If it needs fixing, we'll tell you. If it doesn't, you'll know that too. I guarantee that you will not get that business-as-usual treatment at Accurate Automotive. Foreign and domestic, cars, trucks, and even fleet service, Accurate can handle your job. I invite you to come in and experience a refreshing difference in car repair and maintenance. Stop by for a free courtesy inspection, a $49 value. We feel it is well worth our investment in you because we know that good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. I'm Lee Weatherby, and I'll be there to greet you. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robeson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out at accurateautomotiveaz.com today.
Arizona's news station. KTAR, on air, 92.3 FM, online at KTAR.com, and streaming live on the KTAR News app. Your breaking news and traffic now.
It's 11:30. Good morning. I'm Tyler Klaus. Here's our top story. Hillary Clinton's private email server is back in the news. With only 10 days to go into the election, FBI Director James Comey says the agency found new emails that may be relevant to the investigation.
When FBI Director James Comey informed Congress about taking a look at some extra emails related to Hillary Clinton's private email server less than 2 weeks before the election, the Justice Department made abundantly clear its objections. Sources familiar with the matter told ABC News its long-standing Justice Department tradition not to take investigative action so close to an election that could potentially influence its outcome. The FBI opted to disclose, we're told, in the name of transparency, rather than risk being accused of trying to hide something later. Aaron Katursky, ABC News, New York.
Clinton's 12-point lead has shrunk to only a 2-point lead this week, according to ABC polling. The data shows the shift is not so much about people changing their preference in candidate, but more about who's intending to vote. With controversy surrounding Trump in the past, more Republicans are energized to vote for the nominee, while reluctant Clinton voters have that sense she can win without them. Now let's get a check on traffic. From the ArmEagle.com Traffic Center, here's Mike Daniels.
Well, thanks, Todd. We do have a crash at Estrella Parkway and McDowell to watch out for, and a wreck on Van Buren and 15th Avenue. This report brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Annuities aren't right for everyone. How do you know if they're right for you? Text the word RETIRE to 411-923 to learn more. I'm Mike Daniels, KTAR News.
Your weather for the valley is still going to be about 10 degrees above normal, with the temperature topping out at 95 degrees with sunny skies, a high of 94 tomorrow, and 87 degrees on Halloween. It's currently 88 degrees in Carefree. Weather brought to you by Howard Air. I'm Tyler Klaus in Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
This is the one we've been waiting for. Bunker to Bunker, the golf show's next stop on the Bunkerville Tour is at the Tom Lehman newly renovated Verde River Golf and Social Club on Saturday, November 19th. Come celebrate the makeover of this incredible facility with their two-person scramble, benefiting St. Vincent de Paul. It's a fantastic day of fun, food, golf, and prizes, all for just $95. A great value. You even receive a coupon for a second round of golf. Space is very limited. Register today at bunkergolf.com.
Hi, I'm Roger Bland with the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association, ATRA. As a transmission industry advocate, I travel throughout North America, studying transmission shops, looking for the best of the best that our industry has to offer. Professionally, ethically run shops that are proud to display the ATRA logo. I was recently in Arizona because I had heard from more than one source that I had to check out Tri-City Transmission right here in Tempe. Folks, I've been in the transmission industry for over 25 years, and I'm here to tell you that Tri-City is the type of transmission shop we're proud to call an ATRA member. Not only does Tri-City Transmission meet the stringent code of ethics set forth for every member of the association, they also have an extraordinary approach to solving their customers' problems. You see, they don't just focus on what it is they produce, transmissions. Their true concern is about fixing your problem. And take it from me, that's a big difference.
To learn more about Tri-City Transmission, find them at tricitytransmission.com. That's tricitytransmission.com.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper-to-bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Few cities are as car-centric as Phoenix, and this is the show that'll help you to better understand that machine you depend on to get around the valley. It's Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and the KTAR app for Android and iPhone.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Matt Allen is off today, so I brought in John Riggle, our lead diagnostician at Tri-City Transmission, to help me help you with the car. And my knowledge is transmissions, and John's is everything in the car, really. I mean, he's been doing this for how many years?
I don't know, 38, 39.
39 years, and we have taught John a lot about transmissions. He's taught me a lot about the rest of the car that I didn't know. So anyhow, today we're talking about diagnosis, but we're really talking about anything related to your car. And if you've got a question or you've got something going on, you need some direction, you're not really sure what's going on, 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR, or if there's something you just want to hear us talk about and you're feeling shy and you just want to send us a text, we'll let you do that too at 411-923. Send us a text and we will bring it up and talk about it on air. And Bumper to Bumper Radio is a show about you, the motoring public, and we're helping you have a better car experience. It also is, Bumper to Bumper Radio there's a website and a network of shops. A lot of times the question on the show is there someone that can fix this? Oh yeah, I know someone. While I hope you all come to my shop in Tempe, I would love that. There's other great shops that are part of Bumper to Bumper Radio that you can find anywhere in the valley. BumperToBumperRadio.com. And if you're there, be sure to like Matt and I on Facebook. So, sometimes we don't feel popular enough. We want a little more love. Be sure to like us on Facebook. Let's get to Johnny in Surprise. He's got a 2008 Toyota Sienna. How can we help you, Johnny? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning, gentlemen. We're new to the Valley, and I've always used the dealerships for my Toyota. But I've got a little bit of concern about the one up here in Surprise because I took it to the dealership. It was limped along from the interstate, going fine. All of a sudden, everything went on. Check engine light came on, limped along. Got it down there, and the service mechanic said, well, got all kinds of codes, and we looked at it, and you need a new VVTi actuator. I asked him, I says, well, I kind of know what that is. All that really is two chunks of steel that move a little bit and changes the timing. So how could that thing have been broken and have the car still run? So he calls me back about an hour later and says, oh, well, no, it wasn't the actuator. It was the VVTi oil actuators that control the actuator. And we changed them, and it's $1,000. Well, I took the actuators that they took out. I put a meter on them, ohmed them out. All it is a little solenoid. It's got 8 ohms on both of them. I put power to both of them, and both of them move back and forth like they're supposed to. I was really perplexed how they took these things out, charged me $1,000 for 2 parts that seem to be working just fine. My question is there any other way these things could have messed up? Because further research tells me in most cases with a Toyota, it's not the actuators, it's that little oil screen that controls the flow of the oil to the actuators, and all you do is pump it out, clean it out, put it back in, you're done. And they charge me $1,000 for that.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts on that, John, and I know you got thoughts, and I definitely want to hear them, is that, it's like solenoids and transmissions.
Exactly.
We can ohm them out all day long, and they'll ohm out fine, and the problem with that is that mechanically they're bad. So electrically the coil and everything is good. It's just the pintle maybe is not moving because maybe it's stuck.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can bench test them and you can apply power and ground to them and you can hear them click. But most of these solenoids are modulated, meaning they're turned on and off real quickly. So we actually modulate the amount of flow through them. At higher frequencies, you get the pintles to start to stick or bounce. It can go either way. They can hang up in there, and you can't assess that simply by turning them off and turning them on slowly. You have to. The only way to really test that is to put it on a bench and really ramp the frequency up and turn them on and off really quickly while they have pressure applied to them.
I would kind of relate it to like a fuel injector. You couldn't just test a fuel injector by sticking some power to it.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah.
There's a whole lot more to it. So, and this is what made our business a lot more complicated. Like in a transmission, for instance, I'll just use that because I use solenoids. Those things used to just turn on and off, open, closed, open, closed.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. It was like a sprinkler valve in your backyard. It wasn't too hard to figure that thing out. But the modern transmission solenoid is pulse width modulated, so it's the dimmer switch in your living room as opposed to the light switch in your in the bedroom.
And he was right. He made a good statement about the screens getting plugged up in those, but the screens get plugged up with debris. Well, the screens don't catch all of the debris. Some of that debris goes through the VVT solenoids, and when it gets into the VVT solenoids, it does cause wear inside the VVT solenoids. So you can have a situation where it's actually both pieces that cause the issue.
I gotcha, for sure. So I think you had good concerns, and it was a good question, and you really got a pretty good understanding about what's going on there.
Yeah.
Now, the thing for automotive repair shops, and everybody's known the story where they took their car to an auto repair shop, they paid a bunch of money, and then they drove away, and some light came on, and they had to go back, or the car broke down, or it came back on a tow truck. We have to fix the car in a manner which it's not coming back. So, yeah, maybe we could clean the screen and send you down the road, but, maybe it's a 50-50 chance of success. Most customers aren't happy with just a 50-50 chance of success. When you know how much you rely on your vehicle, and you got to get to work, and you got to take the kids to school, and all those things that have to happen, our name is mud if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So we're very aware of that also. So different. And that's one of those things. You've been going to the dealer, and if it's been, I don't know that was necessarily handled wrong. I don't know. I haven't done variable valve timing solenoids on a Sienna, so I don't know about the price, John.
I've actually done quite a few of the solenoids.
Okay.
The solenoids are pricey. Yeah.
They're spendy. So anyhow, thanks for the call. 602-277-5827. 602-277 KTAR. We're going to go with Neil in Queen Creek. He's got a 2011 GMC Sierra. How can we help you, Neil? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. Hey, Neil. All right, we're going to come back to you, Neil. Looks like we're going to go with Mike in Sun City. He's got a 2004 Chevy Trailblazer. How can we help you, Mike? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yes, thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Well, I have a bowl system in my Trailblazer, and it's showing I have a disc stuck in there, and I hit the eject button a number of times, and it doesn't come out. I don't remember putting this in there, but I'm not sure. And I'm wondering, is it necessary to actually take out the whole system, just replace it? I'd prefer not to do that.
Okay. So you've got something stuck in your stereo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's showing a CD read error probably is what it is. And unfortunately, that's not an uncommon failure with that particular unit. There's not a lot you can do with those. I think ISS is the only place in town that even services those anymore. Dealer's going to do just an exchange on that unit. You can put another used head in it, but really there's not much servicing that anybody's doing other than places like ISS that do electronic repairs for the dealers and stuff.
On the really modern cars, when you're talking like 2015, swapping out the stereo is not such a big deal, or is a big deal because it's so integrated into the rest of the car. But when you're getting back into 2004, that's still a vehicle where, hey, rather than spend money on that aftermarket or that factory stereo to try and get that thing fixed up, well, you can go down to the stereo shop. They can sell you a stereo that's got a little screen. They can put in a backup camera. They can kind of modernize your car. So if I'm going to spend $350 to fix that one, I might as well spend $350 to upgrade at the same time. So that may not be a bad situation. So I would recommend you go see a stereo shop in your area. So thanks for the call, 602-277-5827. We're going to go with Clayton in Mesa. He's got a 2004 Nissan Sentra. How can we help you, Clayton? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, thank you for the call. Received my call. I got a 2004 Nissan Sentra with a P1272 with air-fuel ratio going lean. I changed out the O2 sensor. Well, it's not an O2 sensor. It's an air ratio sensor. I'm not real familiar how those work. Are they just like an O2 sensor, or are they a little bit different?
No. It's similar, but it's different. The difference between an air-fuel ratio sensor and an oxygen sensor is that the air-fuel ratio sensor will measure ratios beyond stoichiometric. That means other than the ideal air-fuel ratio of 14.7 to 1. So they're a little more complicated. The trick is that code is actually a lean code. It's telling you that the system is seeing the car not get enough fuel for one reason or another. That doesn't mean it's the sensor doing it. As a matter of fact, in most cases, it's something other than the sensor. We call that a system code as opposed to a component code. So there's a lot of things that could cause the car to run lean. Low fuel pressure, air leaks, vacuum leaks, a dirty mass airflow sensor or a defective mass airflow sensor. That's something that the only real way to diagnose that is to utilize a scan tool and look at what we call the fuel trims. And the fuel trims are the piece of data that tell us whether the car is running rich or lean. And you've already replaced the component. Obviously, that didn't fix it. The other thing you have to consider, are there any exhaust leaks? Exhaust leaks that allow oxygen into the exhaust cause that sensor to read lean, set that code. So you've got a lot of possibilities, and unfortunately, that's one of the harder codes that there is because there's so many possibilities on that.
And that's back to our topic in the first segment is that we have a code, so we kind of know which direction it is, but if you had gone to the local auto parts store, the first thing they're going to do is scan that thing, and the first thing they're going to say is, hey, we got this air fuel sensor or we got this O2 sensor. And they're kind of in the same family where they're fundamentally a bit different. It's that type of sensor that's measuring the output of the engine. So thanks so much for the call, Clayton. We've got Norm and Sean, and maybe time for a couple more at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Arizona, an amazing state for outdoor recreation and exploration. Full of mountains, lakes, streams, forests, and of course, our beautiful deserts. Hunting, fishing, camping. If it's about the outdoors, we've got it covered. KTAR invites you to Get Outdoors with Mike Russell today at noon. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and on every device with the KTAR app.
In life, there are certain relationships outside of family and friends that are important. For instance, if your car breaks down, you want to have a relationship with an auto repair shop that you trust to repair your car. The same goes for your doctor, your accountant, and your attorney. Why? Because the services they provide involve health and financial decisions, and it's important to hire a trusted professional. This same principle applies to real estate. Hi, I'm Lisa Henry with Westline Sotheby's International Realty. For most of us, our home is the largest financial commitment and asset we will own in our lifetime. So when you decide to sell, it's important to hire a professional, knowledgeable real estate agent that you can trust to represent your interests and provide the best customer service available. If you would like a consultation to help determine the value and discuss a comprehensive marketing plan to sell your home, please visit my website at lisareneehenry.com. That's Lisa Renee, R-E-N-E-E, Henry.com. Come experience the difference a great real estate agent can make.
Are you looking for a refreshing change in customer service? I'm Lee Weatherby from Accurate Automotive. How about a refreshing change in your car repair relationship with honest, clear, and responsive service that looks out for your needs and not ours? For over 20 years, we've been delivering award-winning service provided by ASE-certified technicians with one goal, looking out for your best interest. If it needs fixing, we'll tell you. If it doesn't, you'll know that too. I guarantee that you will not get that business-as-usual treatment at Accurate Automotive. Foreign and domestic, cars, trucks, and even fleet service, Accurate can handle your job. I invite you to come in and experience a refreshing difference in car repair and maintenance. Stop by for a free courtesy inspection, a $49 value. We feel it is well worth our investment in you because we know that good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. I'm Lee Weatherby, and I'll be there to greet you. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robeson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out at accurateautomotiveaz.com today.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20-plus years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
Good thing you're not here to see me dance. It's not pretty. I could be that guy from the Bud Light commercial in the 90s, you know? It's out there in the middle of the dance floor, you know, and his girlfriend just got her hand in her face like, oh, gosh, you know. Either that or doesn't have a girlfriend. Maybe one or the other. Anyhow, well, we've got Norm, Sean, Ken, Neil, and Cynthia, so we have got to get to it. We're going to go with Cynthia in Phoenix 2015 F-150. How can we help you, Cynthia? Hey, Cynthia, are you there?
Norm?
Oh, sorry about that. Norm in Phoenix 2005 or 2015.
Yeah, 15 F-150, 50,000 miles on it. I got my recirc light is on for the air conditioning, but when you turn it on and off, you don't hear it. You don't hear it opening. I'm getting outside smells. So I took it to the dealer, and I'm like, what's the deal? The guy's listened to it, and he's like, no, the door's not moving. He said there's 3 motors underneath the dash. It could be a little gear that's sheared off or something. And he said just to get to it was $1,250 in labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that even close?
Well, without being able to look up the specifics in the labor guide, and there is generally multiple motors. So there's a blend door motor that's going to mix the hot and the cold. There's a mode door, which is going to go defrost, dashboard, or on your feet, and maybe there's one other for something else.
Yeah.
But and so depending on where it's located, if the dashboard's got to come out, well, that is a huge job that technicians usually don't like.
Yeah, it sounds like he's describing a recirc door or a fresh air recirc door motor. Generally, those are relatively easy to reach because they're up under the right-hand side of the dash behind the glove box. That one's so new, I don't specifically know on that one. It would seem to be a little much. That's more like a price for an upper temp door or mode door actuator where you actually have to pull the whole dash. Most of the recirc doors, I sneak them out through the glove box.
Hey, Norm, you're in Phoenix, so you're probably right down the street from Virginia Auto Service. Give Matt a call up there or talk to Tim or talk to Pascal, and they'd be happy to just kind of comp that price for you, see if it sounds reasonable. And you can find them at bumper-to-bumper-radio.com. We're going to go with Sean in Cave Creek. He's got a 2003 Chevy Tracker. How can we help you, Sean?
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. My issue is with the brakes. It's an intermittent issue, and it only started about 2 weeks ago. And it only happens when the car's in idle, and it's been running for a little while. And what will happen is the brake pedal all of a sudden gets very stiff, okay, and then the wheels lock up. And you try to move the car forward, and the engine's working, but you know that there's just too much drag on the wheels. So you stop, you pull over, you wait, and it seems like the problem goes away. I don't know how to explain it. Can you help me?
That's a good explanation. I don't know if I can help you. You may need an exorcist on that one. That is a strange problem. Yeah. Generally, I've got an idea on this one. Usually, when I see a situation like this where I've got brakes locking up, at some point in time, somebody has adjusted a master cylinder push rod that's too long, and we don't have enough clearance between the master cylinder, the power brake booster push rod, and the master cylinder, or we don't have enough free play in the pedal assembly. Somebody's done something somewhere, and what's happening is the car sits there. We build up a little bit of temperature, brake fluid expands, brakes are applied, and they don't want to release.
I had the very similar situation recently, John, where somebody brought their car in, and it drove great for about the first mile, and then it stopped. And the lady thought she had a transmission problem, but what she had, her son put in a new brake switch, which is down there on the brake pedal.
There you go.
And that was the little adjustment enough on it was able to put a little pressure on the pedal, and it was fine until those pads heated up, and then the car didn't want to go anywhere. So I totally relate to that one.
Yeah, and there's a quick test we do on those. If I wind up in a situation like that, one of the things that I do, and I don't recommend you do it at home unless you're familiar with it, we crack the bleeders loose, relieve a little bit of the hydraulic pressure off. If the thing now rolls, now we know that we've got a hydraulic problem where it's applying the brakes like that, and we go back and look for clearances.
Cool. Thanks for the call, Sean. And if you need a good shop, you can find them at bumper-to-bumper-radio.com. We're going to go with Ken in Queen Creek. He's got a 2011, looks like Dodge Ram 1500. How can we help you, Ken? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So I've had a lot of work done to this truck. I've got a rough idle, and at low RPMs, like if you're driving, sitting in traffic, 1,100 RPMs, I mean really low, the truck starts vibrating. You almost get like a harmonic vibration throughout the whole cab of the truck, and my idle's awful. It won't solve. I've got no check engine lights. I paid to have diagnostics done to it at 3 different shops. Everything they do doesn't fix it. I've had fuel pump relay, plugs twice in the last month, and just recently plug wires, and truck runs exactly the same.
And no codes?
No codes whatsoever.
No, okay.
Oh, this thing was to Mike Russell's mechanic before we got we got to it.
All right. I would be wanting to make the distinction, are we talking about an engine performance problem, or do we have a vibration? It almost sounds like he's like somebody's chasing a vibration, a mechanical vibration.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I've actually thought that before, and even on Russell's truck, we were wondering that for a long time. We don't know the history on it, but it almost feels like there's a torque converter out of balance. But it looks like the transmission's never been out, and that's the only time you're going to find a torque converter out of balance is after somebody's been doing repair work like that.
Yeah.
So, but those are some other things that you start to, and he's been to 3 different shops, and boy, it sounds like they've thrown everything at it but the kitchen sink. What do you think?
What do I think? I think it's probably a vibration. That's the hardest thing to diagnose because there is no clues. Okay, there's nothing when you're chasing a vibration like that, and a lot of the vibrations mimic a rough idle. Our torque converters, when we've got an issue with a torque converter that's going bad, they create a situation that unless you felt it before, you won't put your finger on it.
Yeah, that's something you just got to feel for. We're going to real quickly try and sneak in Neil in Queen Creek on a 2011 GMC. Go ahead, Neil. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Afternoon, gentlemen. So on my 11 GMC, I've got the 4.8 flex fuel. I get a high-pitched squeal out of the motor, and it's only, oddly enough, it's only when the outside temperature is 100 degrees or more. It doesn't matter how, like now it's not doing it, now that it's somewhat cooled off. But I did put in some engine oil or some honey, and it helped it for about 1,000 miles, and then it started doing it again.
Is it like a whistling, like a sucking type of noise?
No, it's more like a squeal, like maybe your idler's going bad. So I did check my tensioner, and the bearing was loose, so I went ahead and replaced that, but it still did that. So it's almost like a belt squeal, but it's got a new belt. Like as I mentioned, my tensioner the bearing was loose, so I went ahead and replaced that. But it still continues to do it, and it's only on hot days. It doesn't matter. On cool days, if I drive 200 miles and the engine's at up.
Anyhow, well, thanks for joining us. BumperToBumperRadio.com if you're looking for a great shop. And since you got cut off there, Neil, go ahead and send me an email at BumperToBumperRadio.com, and I'll make sure to get back to you with some sort of answer to help you out. Talk to you later.